landing a great job opportunity is sometimes very challenging. Breaking into tech and getting hired as a sales rep can be even harder. When I was applying to my first sales jobs, I also struggled with the unknown, what to expect, what the tech industry was like, and how do I break in? After years of being an SDR myself, I've decided to build something I wish I had in the beginning. My name is Stefan, and in the SDR Hire podcast, I interview successful SDRs and salespeople who share their stories straight from the trenches. Learn how they got their first job offers, how they succeed every day in their roles, and what makes them stand out in their organizations. We all have what it takes. We just need someone to remind us of the opportunity and give us a better chance for success. Let's get your next SDR gig. Welcome to another episode of SDR Hire podcast. Today, I'll be talking to Legend Fears, currently an SDR at a company called Mosaic. Legend is a striving sales professional who's had to overcome a lot of challenges growing up. And in order to do so, he had to step out of his comfort zone and move over 1,000 miles away from his home. And after landing several internships at major tech companies like HighSpot, Clary, HubSpot, he finally found the right role at Mosaic. More about his journey and the company he's working for, we'll get to hear from Legend himself. Legend, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Stefan. Totally glad to be here, and I really appreciate what you're doing.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Glad to have you on the show. So let's just begin with what's your story and how did you end up as an SDR?
Yeah, you mentioned a little bit of my story in the intro, and I did move 1,000 miles away from home to go to university. And during that time, I originally wanted to go into the financial services space, more so doing like business analytics, financial analytics. But over time, I gained more clarity on what I wanted to do financially and also what I wanted to really gain skill-wise in my career. And so over time, I really looked into sales. And I've always had an interest in tech. I have some family that works in tech, so I've always heard their experiences. And so hearing that and then learning about sales, I thought would be really a great opportunity for me. And then I got in touch with a mentor who was alumni of the university I just graduated from. And he was in tech sales, and he really just pretty much opened a whole new world for me. I didn't even really know much about tech sales. I was like, what is going on? I can do all of this in tech sales. And so just seeing what he was doing and him like just showed me the ropes and really helped me a lot in my job search. And he's a big reason why I'm here today. And then also supporting my family. I come from a very close-knit family, and they always wanted me to really enjoy it and love what I do, just as long as I give 110%. And so just doing that, I was like, being an SDR, going into sales is a no-brainer. And matter of fact, as soon as I told my parents I'm going into software sales, they were excited. And my dad was just like, yeah, do that, man. He's like, you're going to be so thankful. Just keep working hard and you're going to be appreciative of the results that you get. And so here I am.
Amazing. I love to hear when people come from a supportive and great family background where everybody's just like rooting for each other. That's really rich. And it's awesome to hear that it was the same for you as well. And obviously, shout out to your mentor, whoever the person might be. But it seems like they really left a mark on your early career.
Yeah, real quick, I do want to give a shout out to him. His name is Colin O'Connor at Terminal, and he's a great guy. He's also hiring too, but a great team over there. I've had a chance to meet him and Parker, who also works there, and so he's helped me a lot.
Sweet, awesome. Shout out to both of them. So moving on, like, what do you wish you knew before you started as an SDR?
Yeah, great question. I really didn't have a what I wish I knew story. I was actually really grateful to be in the situation I was in. I took an extra semester in college, partially because I had to get some credits done, but I used that time to really start taking my job search seriously. My job search really started before my summer internships and my fall internships. And so I really started to network with professionals in the SaaS field, really asking them questions about what their company is like, really getting deeper in like asking some of the nitty-gritty questions that a lot of people don't ask, like how many people at your sales org hit quota? How much does the top SDR, BDR make? What's the growth potential like? And so I started asking those questions and just seeing like who's very transparent, and just really, I developed also really a system and a document that just mapped out my criteria for what I look for in a company in my career, and then just seeing which companies aligned with that. And they really came down to that. And so over time, I really started narrowing down companies. And over that time, I really got to really learn about the space, develop my skill set, doing side projects that involve prospecting and really just developing that muscle before I started the role. So I really thankful that I was able to get that extra time to do that.
That's awesome. And it really sounds like you have a structured approach to choosing your potential employers. And just out of curiosity, what would you say your top three criteria for companies are?
Ooh, I'll say first one is transparency. If you can't
Mm,
be transparent with me in the interview process, I'm not going to the next steps with you. And I would say two is career development. I'm going to invest in myself and my career, but being in a space where leadership is able to do that and is able to help me with that is very huge. And I would say flexibility, being able to have the autonomy to really own my side of the business and really develop myself into the professional that I want to be. So I would say those are my top three. I have a few more, but I would say those three I really zero in on.
awesome. Great to hear and great for our listeners as well. And so it seems like Mosaic really ticked off most of, or probably all of the check boxes. And so speaking of Mosaic, can you tell us more about the company?
Yeah, what we do is we're our strategic finance platform that is able to connect your data from your ERP, CRM, HR, and billing systems into one platform and enabling you to get real-time analytics, build out your financial models, run multiple scenarios, and really ultimately create a shared language across the business. We want to do that across different departments. So that's a little bit about what we do. We're a growing startup. We just passed 100 people, raised our Series B, and we are hiring across many different roles. So feel free to check that out. And yeah, it's great team, great culture, great like-minded people, and I'm totally glad that I'm a part of it.
Really sounds like an amazing place to be at. So I'm really glad for you and rooting for you and rooting for the company. Congrats on the Series B landing. Speaking of the Series B landing, it's a unique moment in the company's history. What was the hiring process like for you with Mosaic?
I would say it was very relaxed. And so I've had previous experience where you feel like you're being poked and prodded instead, and you're being run through the mill instead of being talked to like you're a human. It was very conversational in the interview process, very transparent from the beginning. And I got ample time to ask all the questions I needed to ask. They got to learn about me. I was, of course, able to test my prospecting skills like with email and really just get feedback from that. And then just learn from the people that I'm currently working with. So it was very relaxed. And I would say it was very sophisticated compared to many other companies, especially companies that are like much bigger.
Interesting. It really sounds like Mosaic knows what they're doing, especially in the hiring process, which really is important because oftentimes the hiring process might even show you how your everyday might look like. And so if it's clunky and slow and not transparent, it might be similar once you land the role. And so it's a very important indicator of how a company performs. Awesome. Great to hear that. And so you've been in the role for a few months now. I think it's been a couple of months or 3 months. Can you tell us more about how it's like being an SDR at Mosaic once you're inside the company?
Yeah, it's been great so far. I've learned so much. I look back at like how I started and now it's like almost night and day. And currently, right now, I'm an SDR, and so we have our team separated into outbound reps or BDRs and inbound SDRs or one SDR. I'm the sole SDR currently, and so I was brought on as the first inbound rep, and so I handled all the inbound leads, demo requests, and people that schedule time on calendar, see if they're a good fit or bad fit, and also like the people that are like SQLs and that are also interested. And then also when we do webinars, we'll see who's also interested to learn more. And so my experience has been great. Very supportive team. We're young, hungry, and very focused individuals. Super collaborative, and it's very great to see being at the beginnings of that and being able to develop myself as a professional, but also see others develop, help others develop. And I'm really grateful because like I just graduated college 4 months ago, so being able to come into a situation like this, and especially where leadership is able to be patient with me and really understand that, but also really hold me accountable and push me to really be my best. And everybody's learning together. There's nobody that's like a know-it-all. Everybody's like looking to gain more knowledge and learn from each other. Being a part of that, and that's what really makes a world-class sales team. And so I look at some of the world-class sales teams at some of the like the bigger organizations, and I just think I'm like one day we're going to be like that. We're already in the makings of that. So it's only a matter of time.
No, of course. And there's one thing I'm trying to tell you, which is it's really astounding the way that you built your career up to coming into Mosaic, which has basically allowed you to know which questions to ask. And right off the finishing of your college, basically be able to choose and land a very awesome company and an awesome role with such a developed sales program inside it. So it's really awesome when great candidates meet great companies and cultures. So, and also it really sounds like the management structure there is really set up to support its reps and grow them into awesome professionals.
Absolutely.
Okay, what would you say marks you as a good SDR, or rather, what is your secret weapon? What is something that makes you successful?
I would say I'm still fairly new to the role, but with that being said, I think I'm starting to really understand my strengths and my weaknesses. But I would say my ability to be receptive to feedback. If you have to seek that, most of us don't want to hear that feedback, so we don't seek it out. I seek it out. I do a one-on-one with Matt, our sales manager, every Wednesday usually. And I ask him, I said, man, what do I need to get better at? I was like, just tell me. Because I'm learning. I'm just starting. Like I'm only 22 years old. I want to get better. I'm just doing that. But I would say also to being able to really have a tight process and really have a understanding of my side of the business, being able to understand my numbers, like for example, active pipeline, revenue source, because I have a philosophy to where booking meetings is going to get you a look, it's going to get you a pat on the back saying like, good job. But going beyond that and really looping in leadership on how your side of the business is doing, knowing on the spot how much active pipeline you have, how much revenue you source, how many of those deals, let's say in this quarter, were influenced by you, and really keeping track of those key metrics. That's the type of stuff that's going to get you promoted. That's the type of stuff to where they say, hey, who should be ready for the BDR role? Who should be ready for the AE role? Who should be ready for leadership? It's going to be that rep that goes above and beyond. So I think me working on that and going above and beyond every day and just finding every opportunity to get better is what is making me successful. It's going to make me continue to be successful.
Yes, sir. That's really something. And I don't know even what to focus on because you said so many things that are crucial for the success of any role, but sales in particular. And let's start with just the beginning, which is asking for feedback relentlessly. Every successful sales rep that I've ever had a chance to either work with or have a chat with has done precisely that. Asking for feedback, getting feedback, continuously learning, being humble, and just being open to acquiring new knowledge. That's like the first rule of being a great sales rep. And then you said another very important thing, which is getting on the radar with leadership and just making sure that people know in the organization who is responsible for sourcing what amount of revenue, just putting the praise where it belongs, which allows you to be noticed and it allows you to get promoted. And speaking of being promoted, that's actually the next question in the show. But like, what is your plan? Like, is it just to go the standard way of like SDR, BDR, AE, and then leadership perhaps, or is it something else? What's your plan going forward?
Yeah, so I can go into that. So what I plan on doing currently is continue to help scale the inbound process and really continue to learn and get better as an inbound SDR at Mosaic. But after that, I would like to do outbound work as a BDR and then eventually go into AE. I haven't really thought much beyond that. I'm currently evaluating that and trying to plan ahead for that. But as of right now, the typical BDR AE track.
It's very nice. It's not really easy to plan so many roles ahead and so much time ahead. It seems like you have a pretty clear idea where you want to be, or at least what skills you want to develop and how you want to develop yourself as a professional, which is more than enough at a certain point. And so, okay, what would you give as an advice to anyone either starting out as a fresh SDR or just transitioning to a new SDR role? What would be your message to them?
I would say go above and beyond even before you get into the role. A little bit about what I did in the interview process with Mosaic is beyond the interview, the email assessment. One thing I did was, so for context, before I began with Mosaic, I actually had a sales nav account because I was doing micro internships and side projects regarding like business development and sales. So I needed that to find prospects. And I used my sales nav account to go into and find prospects that would fit our ideal customer profile and look for about 20 of them, try to find their phone number, try to find their email, and who like people like directors of finance, CFOs, VPs of finance, controllers. And I did that. I sent that to Matt, and then as a way to walk through how I would prospect if I was hired by them. And so what I did, and he shared it with our CEO. And so I did that. I didn't have to do that, but I wanted to do that to let them know, like, you bring me on, this is how I would approach this process. So give them a glimpse into like how are you going to be before you do the role. It takes work, but by you spending even like 2-3 hours a week just looking up company website, and it doesn't even have to, you can just do 15-20 minutes a day. Like everybody has 15 minutes and 20 to just look at the website, maybe even listen to part of a podcast the CEO's on, just learn the company's vision, how you fit into that. And I did that when I was on my last semester of college, like outside of school, doing a webinar. And so getting that knowledge even before I started helps. And I think you do that, the ball is in your court, and the odds are going to be in your favor. So I think you just do that and you'll be fine.
That's really a gold piece of advice and something I would recommend myself to other candidates as well. So whenever you're trying to land a new role, just go above and beyond, like Legend said, and do your best to just show what an asset you would be once you become a part of that company. So amazing piece of advice, amazing guest. I'm very grateful for your time, Legend, and for sharing your story with our listeners. And before I let you go, do you have anything to add?
I want to say thank you so much, Stefan, for bringing me on your podcast. It's awesome what you're doing, and I really appreciate you reaching out and doing this. And we are hiring across different departments, across different roles. We're not just hiring for SDR AE. We're hiring across different departments. So feel free to check out our website. I want to say it's mosaic.tech/careers. And so feel free to apply and yeah, follow Stefan on LinkedIn. He makes great posts, and I post on LinkedIn as well under the hashtag SDR365. And thank you once again, Stefan.
I appreciate your time as well. To our listeners, you'll be able to find all the links beneath the podcast and on the YouTube channel. So thanks, and talk to you and see you around.
Thank you for tuning in to the SDR Hire podcast, the only podcast exclusively focused on SDRs, where successful salespeople share about their hiring stories and sales adventures straight from the trenches. If you found this useful, go ahead and share it with someone else you know is trying to break into tech or land their next SDR gig. You can find SDR Hire on all major podcast platforms as well as YouTube. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and catch you in the next episode.